Hello and welcome to the live edition of the Integrity Sports Podcast. We are on site at the Roman Oven Pizzeria, and we'd love to have you come by and join us for some food, some fellowship, and a lot of football talk. I'm your host, Tim Estes, and I'm proud to be joined once again this season by my good friend, Scott Westbrook. Our show is brought to you each week by our friends at Harper's Tree and Stump Removal. If you have any tree trimming, tree removal, or stump removal needs, give our friends at Harper's Tree and Stump Removal a call. Contact Keith at 229-314-2048 or at 229-938-2412. Harper's Tree and Stump Removal is the proud premier sponsor of the Integrity Sports Podcast. Scott, it's high school football season in Southwest Georgia, and all three of our local teams, Southland, Sumter County, and Schley County, all have high hopes for the 2025 season.
Yes, sir, Tim. I tell you, they've got some, especially Southland and Sumter County have come out of the gates and going to decide to play their rivals, kind of almost like Daytona 500. They decided to have one of their big games, the first one of the season. Schley playing a out-of-region game, but still a team that's going to be a formidable opponent.
Absolutely. And all three of our local teams, Scott, played a preseason scrimmage. Some of those were 2 weeks ago. Some of them were last week. And you can't really tell about a preseason scrimmage. So you get a glimpse of what's good, but you also probably get a bigger glimpse of what you need to work on.
Well, it's a delicate balance with the coaches because they don't want to show their opponents too much for their first couple of games. And they, by the same token, they want to see, which players really got that dog in them, can figure out which ones are going to step up on game night. And so they have to, show some of their playbook, but they don't want to show much of it.
I don't want to talk deeply yet about any of the teams, but let's give our audience just a glimpse of what happened in those scrimmages. Sumter County got a dominating win over Monroe out of Albany. I know that was good for Coach Will Rogers to get off to a good start.
This is going to be a huge season for Sumter County. I think they're bringing a lot of experienced, big-time D1 talent going to be on the field on Friday nights in Americus and anytime Sumter County plays. So, I think this just really affirmed what a lot of people have thought about Sumter County in the preseason polls.
Yeah. Southland Academy went over to the Macon area, took on Central Fellowship, got a win over there. So I know a lot of excitement. They've got more players out, and we'll talk some about that in just a little bit. But Southland got a win over Central Fellowship.
Right, and they're getting acclimated to the system and the direction they want to go. They got some players that have got some experience under their belt that they're ready to, put it all together and hopefully have a good, healthy season this season.
Schley County dropped a tough one to Lamar County. I'm sure Coach Darren Alford and his staff got to look at what they needed to work on prior to tomorrow night.
Lamar County, I was at that game. Lamar County brought a strong team in there. They're, a couple notches above Schley County's division. They've got some tremendous facilities. Lamar County's growing population-wise, and they have a blue-chip running back that everybody in the country wants. So yeah, I think Schley County, really wanted to play a good team, and they brought one in Friday night and played it.
Scott, now that the preseason's over, we kind of get into the real deal with all three teams opening their seasons tomorrow night. In just a moment, we're going to start with the breakdown of Schley County.
Welcome to the Integrity Sports Podcast, covering local sports in the Southwest Georgia area, creating content that is factual, positive, and informative, promoting efforts by athletes, coaches, sports administrators, and sports personalities. Thanks for making the Integrity Sports Podcast a part of your weekly routine. Now here's your host, Tim Estes.
Scott and I are going to start with the Schley County Wildcats. They are hosting the Seminole County Indians tomorrow night. Kickoff is at 7:30 down at Wildcat Stadium. Scott, the schedules for all three of these teams are polar opposite of last year. It's the same teams in the same weeks, but you flip the home and home. Last year, Schley County goes down to Seminole, I think, with a lot of confidence. Everybody expected a big win, and they came away with a loss to Seminole County.
I think a lot of people underestimated Seminole County last year. I know Sly County did in the first game of the season, but Seminole County, they if I'm not mistaken, they've won a state championship in football.
They have
in the basketball, but so Seminole County has got a good base of athletes. So you never know from one year to the next what they're going to have. So we'll see tomorrow night. Sly County has got some players that are a little more experienced. Seminole County graduated a good many. We got Amir Nelson, who's a lot of people are expecting a lot of good things out of. He's been a starter since a freshman. He's a junior. Got Blake Weldon, who's got a lot of experience coming in as a senior quarterback. Jonathan Leggett, senior tight end and outside linebacker. He has played a lot of football in his years at Sly County. Caleb Renfro, also senior wide receiver, and they've got him playing several things on defense. Judah Rabin, senior lineman. They're going to have him out there, and he's got a lot of games under his belt. And Dedrick Thornton, the same way, senior offensive lineman, defensive lineman. Jeremiah Johnson, got him at cornerback and wide receiver. He is a junior, and they're expecting a lot of good things out of him this year. And Sterling Blanchard, junior linebacker, also looked good the other night and will continue to grow as a player also.
One of the things you look at, especially early in the season, is historical background, and specifically what did each team do last year. If you look at the wrap up from last year, Sly County finished the season at 6-5. Seminole County finished at 6-4. You and I, when we left Seminole County last year, felt like that was a team that could go 9-1. We knew they were playing a powerhouse out of Florida, and I don't think either one of us felt like they could beat them. But from what we saw, boy, we were just really impressed. Well, they kind of stumbled out of the block, and they got to that final game of the regular season, and they had to win it to get into the playoffs, and they were favored to win it, but they lost. Mm-hmm. So they ended up 6-4. But certainly Seminole County, a formidable team, and that's going to be a tough matchup here in game one.
And then it could be one of those teams that, historically maybe starts early season strong and then kind of peters out when the basketball starts hitting the floor and all that kind of stuff. We've seen that with some teams in our own region repeatedly every year.
Scott, you're well-versed in Sly County football. As you look at the 2025 season, what do you feel like Sly County's strengths are?
I think the strengths, a lot of the players I just announced, a lot of those guys have got some really D1 potential to play it in other areas, to play at the next level. Like any of these, it's cyclical with these smaller schools, these small rural schools. You have a good group of athletes, and then you have some lean years. Well, I don't think Sly is going to have any lean years this year, but what they've had the past couple of years, they don't have the depth,
Right.
And so we've got to keep these starters healthy. And I know that one of the things that weighs on Coach Alford and the rest of his staff is keeping these guys healthy, because behind the starters, you've got some really young guys.
Yeah. When you look at Sly County's schedule for 2025, they open up tomorrow night at home with Seminole. Their first 4 or 5 games, I think, are non-conference. Let's see. First 5 games, I guess, first 4 are non-conference. Seminole County. Next week, they'll have Hawkinsville, then Irwin and Early. That's a tough non-region schedule.
It is. Now, Hawkinsville and Irwin, we don't know what we're going to see with them this year. Irwin County's got a new coach. Some of the players have left Irwin from what I've read online and things like that, but we'll see how this new coach puts it together. Early County, they've always probably started circling Sly's name on their schedule after what's happened the past couple of years when we beat them, especially late in the playoffs when we just had a bad game that time, and we just decided to start playing the last 2 minutes of the game and came back and beat them. I know that was a heartbreaker for Early County, and I guarantee you a lot of their fans and players still remember it, because the players that are going to play that Friday night were at that game.
Scott, as we look ahead and you get into region play, Sly County competes in Region 6, Class A Division 2. Taylor County, Macon County, Marion, Chatco, all right here within an hour of us for the most part, but you know this region really well. Who are you looking to be the teams to compete for that region title this year?
This year, I'm going to say Taylor County.
Yeah.
They've got some really strong talent. They've got a young man at quarterback, Leland Holder, who has just done remarkably well, matured, grown up. I mean, it's every time I see him, it seems like he grows another 6 inches. And he's really poised, and Gunnar Watson's helping him out a lot, obviously, coaching him at quarterback. They've got a lot of depth. They've got some receivers. They got one receiver that's already committed to Tulane, Chan Lumpkin, who has done a phenomenal job, and has been a starter there ever since he was a freshman. So I think Taylor County's got some depth and some strength. They look really good this year. They got a lot of confidence. Macon County always does. Marion County, they are looking to bounce back. They're kind of like an old John Deere bee sometimes. They sputter. They have some 2 or 3 good games, and they'll have a bad game. Yeah. 2 or 3 good. So Marion County's got to get on a more consistent level before they really get their glory days back.
So Sly County has a tough road ahead here in Region 6, Class A, Division 2. Scott, I don't want to spend too much time. I don't want to wrap them up until the very end, and we'll kind of talk more about the Seminole game and give our predictions. But we also want to thank all of our sponsors. Today's show is brought to you in part by Carter's Fried Chicken, located at 206 Tripp Street in Americus. Owner Mike Shaddles and his staff have been feeding Southwest Georgia for more than 30 years. They offer daily lunch specials featuring baked or fried chicken, vegetables, and some incredible desserts, and they do it all at an affordable price. Carter's Fried Chicken is a supporter of all of our local area teams and wishes everyone the best of luck as the 2025 season gets underway. Thanks again to our friends at Carter's Fried Chicken for sponsoring this segment of the Iintegrity Sports Podcast. That takes us, Scott, to the Southland Academy Raiders. The Raiders spent the majority of last season battling injuries. They dealt with it from game one when their quarterback, Mac McMichael, went down with a torn ligament in his knee. Mac was planning to be that guy that handled the wing T offense of Chance Jones. Luckily, they had a guy like Boren that came in and was able, not as nimble as Mac for sure, but was able to come in and kind of hold things together. Southland's numbers were down last year, and you and I talked about that almost every show. They had 23, and then they'd have one hurt, and they'd come in with 22 or 21. This year, after talking with Coach Jones, they were started with 29 players, may have more than that now. 6 of those players are guys that had played football in the past and for whatever reason didn't play last year. But he's glad to have some very talented new guys out this year. Southland is going to be in Class AA of the GIAA, and they've got some obstacles in their way to start with. Their first game is going to be against their arch rival, Deerfield Windsor.
Mm-hmm. And Deerfield, coming off their state championship year, you've got in our notes here, they were 10-3 last year, and that state championship. So this is going to be a good benchmark game for both teams to see where they are as far as Southland coming out healthy and Deerfield Windsor. I would suspect that they lost a lot of players if they won the state championship. Typically, you don't win that with a really young team. So we'll see what they come out with tomorrow night, and it'll be a good measuring stick for both teams.
You said Deerfield Windsor was 10-3 on the season. Southland was 4-8. But here's what I like about that 4-8 record. You and I through the season said, man, they're getting better. Mm-hmm. They were competing against some of those top tier teams, and it'd be a game all the way to the very end. Yep. And they'd make a mistake, or the other team would just simply make a good play, mm-hmm. and Southland would lose it there at the end. But boy, when they got to that AA competition level, they were battle tested. They knew Chance Jones's system, mm-hmm. and those guys played hard and played well. Now that they've got a year under their belt, I think we're going to see some wins up front against some of those bigger teams.
And that wing T too. Once you get to where you're really disciplined and can run that like a well-oiled machine, it is tough to defend against. You put you get it. Your defense is really the opposing defense has really got to be disciplined. And if you get caught snoozing or looking in the backfield, that's when there's some big gains. And before you know it, some fast scores can happen in the wing T.
Southland has several key players, and I'm sure we'll learn more about them over the next few weeks, and maybe some guys that we don't mention tonight. will step up and make some plays, and we can talk about them. But, Scott, let's start out with Mac McMichael. He's healthy again. He's back at quarterback. He's a fast kid, a really smart kid. He's the grandson of legendary Coach Lovard McMichael. They've got to be excited about Mac being back.
And there's probably the coach doesn't have to motivate him to get out there on Friday nights, especially when he's coming off an injury. He's going to appreciate every snap. He's going to appreciate every down. And that will hopefully, that enthusiasm, that motivation, that attitude, that work ethic will spill over into his offensive line and his skill players. And so on offense, I look for them to be hitting on all cylinders. The defense is a bit more of a question mark, and we'll find out a lot more after tomorrow night.
And then, Scott, their all-state selection from last year, Cade Fudge. He'll be back both on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball. He's just a great athlete.
Oh, yeah. He's, like I said, the experienced players that you can have, the more you can bring back from one year to the next, gives you a good foundation for winning.
And then with the wing T offense, people think that the wide receivers don't play a very big part in that.
Mm-hmm.
They do by taking guys out of the play so you don't crowd that box. Well, they've got a stable of guys. They've got Alan Stick. They've got Bryant Rowland, who's a senior. They got Jamarcus Walker coming back. So some really good skill players with a lot of snaps under their belt will be out wide and running the football.
Well, and I think I've seen, with Chance Jones, his wing T is a little different than most. He does throw the ball a little more and keeps that defense honest, to keep them from just stacking in there. I've seen historically, and you have too, we've seen some wing T offenses that may throw the ball once in a game, maybe twice, or sometimes zero in a game. Chance Jones will throw the ball whenever he gets the word from up top that he thinks that the DBs are paying too close attention in the backfield and going to sleep on some plays.
A guy that really came on strong last year, he moved in from Alabama, Christian Short. He was a sophomore last year. He'll play tight end for the Raiders this coming year. He's the grandson of legendary Gary Reeves. So he's got good genes there.
Mm-hmm.
Talking with Chance Jones early in the season, he's very, very impressed with what Christian Short is doing. A guy that came on strong because of some injuries last year, and it forced him to play, Thomas Fowler.
Mm-hmm.
And Thomas is going to be back to play some defensive back. Really, it's fun to watch a guy get an opportunity and step up. Thomas Fowler was one of those guys that did that.
Mm-hmm.
And then a new guy I want to talk about. He'll play center tomorrow night for the Raiders, and that's Cade Ledger. He's the brother of Chase Ledger. Cade's a big guy. He's a tough guy. I've known him since he was a little bitty kid. And you can't hurt him. I mean, the guy just keeps on going. He's kind of like that Energizer Bunny. He'll be at center, and I look forward to watching Cade play this year. So a lot of good athletes, and we're going to make sure and watch the Raiders real close and get some of these new guys that'll be stepping up. We'd love to be able to mention them. On their schedule, Southland will play several bigger schools, the higher classifications up front. When they get to the back half of their schedule, they get into more of the AA, and I think we'll see them be battle-tested. Their key, Scott, in my opinion, stay healthy through those games.
That's exactly right, and be ready to, use that last half of the season to springboard you into the playoffs with some momentum.
Absolutely. So that's Southland Academy, and Scott and I will come back to that toward the end, and we'll give you our prediction on the Southland Academy versus Deerfield Windsor game. Tonight's show is also brought to you in part by the Marty McDonald State Farm Insurance Agency. They're located at 925 Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard in Americus. Drop by and see Marty, Mary Lynn, or any of their fine staff, and let them discuss your insurance needs with you. They can even do the famous discount double check to ensure that you're receiving all of the savings available to you. Give them a call at 928-3686 or look them up on Facebook. Thanks again to Marty McDonald State Farm. And remember, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. That brings us to the Sumter County Panthers. Sumter County is coming off of their best season since the merger of the two schools. The Panthers finished 10-2 in 2024. And Coach Will Rogers and his staff, boy, they return a load of talent. They'll lead with D1 commit A.J. Kearse. He'll be a linebacker and a running back. for Coach Will Rogers. But before we go any further, we just got to stop and focus on A.J. Kears.
He is committed, if I remember correctly, Eastern Michigan.
Eastern Michigan, that's
and
right.
Just fell in love with that place. I know his father is equally as excited as he is, and but a lot of times when you got a blue chip player, you and I have seen this happen in the past. When you get a blue chip player like a AJ Kears or some of these others that have committed to D1, sometimes you have to recruit them to come out there on Friday nights to play for you, because they in their mind they can get caught looking towards the college and going to be anxious to get to that next level and show what they can do. I don't think that's going to be a issue with AJ. I think his father's going to make sure, and I think that the Coach Will Rogers, and I just think AJ, period, from what I've seen in the preseason, he's chomping at the bit to show what he can do his senior season, and so I don't think that's going to be a problem with that, but he is going to be a fun one to watch, and see what happens and how he develops throughout the rest of the season.
And Scott, he's by no means a one-man show.
No.
Sumter County features a guy like Joshua Coleman. He's a huge presence up front. He's already committed to Ball State. So another D1 commit there.
And I think that's the same thing, just to go bounce, to build off what I just said. I think AJ and Joshua are going to make sure they're going to feed off each other and make sure that their Friday nights are going to be just as explosive and have a senior season to remember.
And then there's guys like linebacker Kendall Thomas. Kendall Thomas had an incredible year last year as a junior, all-region, all-state player. He's going to play college football somewhere. His size, I think, is what's hurting him right now. Not a real tall guy, but he will knock you out.
And I think that the coaches, if he's got – fortunately, they don't give 3 stars and 4 stars and 5 stars for work ethic, attitude, and heart and grit and stuff like that. But a lot of times, that is your biggest predictor of success at the next level in some cases. So
I think about a guy like Bryce Volley. Bryce Volley is another big guy that plays up front. And then you can't forget about the big 6'5", 6'6" receiver, Omari Woodard.
Exactly, yeah. He's going to have a phenomenal season too.
So, Scott, you and I have been a Will Rogers fan from day one. I can remember a couple of years ago, you went out and watched them practice, and you came back and said, Tim, this guy's the real deal.
Yeah, he's going to turn around Sumter County football. And, I'm wrong so often. It's nice to toot my own horn when I am right,
Well, I think you and I agree that the 2025 season for the Panthers should be a very special.
I think so, especially, with what they've got tomorrow night, and they're facing their rival tomorrow night on opening night.
Sumter County was 10-2 last year. Tomorrow night, they will host the Crisp County Cougars. That'll be over at Finkley Robinson Stadium. Crisp County coming off a very non-Crisp County-like year. They were 3-8 last year. Got a new coach that you and I know a little bit about, Justin Newman, the former offensive coordinator at Sly County, now the head coach over at Crisp County. So we'll see what Justin can do. The Panther linebacking core, though, when you throw A.J. Kears in there and you got Kendall Thomas in there, then they kind of run a rotation on the others. That may be one of the best linebacking cores of any team in any classification.
I'm gonna be interested to see how Coach Newman plans to play against that linebacking core, because he didn't need any scrimmage film or anything like that. He knows what Sumter County has at that position. Let's just see how they try to figure out to get around those guys.
So, again, we're looking forward to a great year from Sumter County. Will Rogers has told us he'll come by some during the year when we're here on Thursday night. So we look forward to seeing Coach Rogers and some of their coaches. It's been a long time since Sumter County could get excited about Panther football. The 10-win season last year has got people lit on fire. Finkley Robinson Stadium is going to be packed tomorrow night, 7:30. Don't be the old Sumter County crowd and get there at the end of the first quarter. Get there 15 minutes prior to kickoff and pack that thing out. And let's watch the Panthers come out and take on Crisp County. We'll predict that game here in just a moment. So, Scott, that's kind of a preview of our 3 local area teams that we will focus on every week here on the Iintegrity Sports Podcast. But there's some other pretty good games that I want to just kind of briefly hit on before we get off tonight. The first one, Macon County. They're 7-5 last year, really strong with the running game, didn't have much of a passing game on offense. They're going to take on Southwest Macon. That'll be over at Thompson Stadium in the Macon area. Macon County 7-5 last year, Southwest Macon 4-7. What do you think about this?
I'm going with Macon County. I mean, regardless of what happened last season, the fact that, you know, it's just Macon County and then their football and their program over there, they've got a great pool of athletes that they have every year. And if you've just got a coach that can just glue that together just a little bit, they can have a good game. And early in the season, I'm going with Macon County. I'm
going to go with Macon County as well. One of the guys I'm going to try to focus on a little bit this year for Macon County is their quarterback. He is the quarterback is the son of one of my coworkers at the Sumter County government. So I've got kind of a vested interest in him. He is a really good athlete and look forward to watching him play. Taylor County, your hometown, Taylor County, who was 7-4 last year. They'll take on Jasper County. That'll be up in Jasper County. Jasper County also 7-4, so an interesting matchup.
Jasper County, not exactly a blue blood in football. And even though they had a 7-4 record last year, I just know Taylor County is just chomping at the bit to get out there and play on Friday nights this year and show what they can do. They've been going through a pretty long drought of any really strong football teams. So I think that Taylor County will probably not only win that game, but win it big tomorrow night.
Okay. Probably the biggest marquee game in our area here in Southwest Georgia. Lee County, who finished 13-1 last year, travels down to McConnell Talbert Stadium in Warner Robins. They'll take on the Demons of Warner Robins High School. They were 7-4 last year. This looks to be a really good matchup.
Both teams just had a great year recruiting too. I tell you, they both have recruited some phenomenal players at Lee County and Warner Robins. So I think that just piggybacking off of last year's record, I'll go with Lee County.
I'm going to go with Lee County as well, but Warner Robins getting a lot of media right now for some of the folks that are now on the Warner Robins roster, and that ought to be a really good one down in Warner Robins. Just up the road, Buena Vista, Marion County. They finished 5-6 last year. Their opening game will be a road trip over to Hawkinsville, who finished 7-4. We know a little bit about both of those teams. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, both teams, you take 10, 15 years ago, they were competing for state championships on a regular basis. Right now, they're both trying to find their identity and trying to get back on track. Not knowing, I hadn't paid attention to the scrimmages or what either team are bringing back this year. I'm gonna give the nod to Marion County just because they're the local team, and I think that they'll probably be able to pull it out. Hawkinsville has lost a lot of kids to Westfield and to some of the other adjoining counties. So, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if their coverage starting to get a little bare.
I'm going to go a different route from you on this one.
You've done some studying.
Well, we have agreed so far on all of these. Marion County will be under a new coach.
Mm-hmm.
Billy Law now gone. He's at Southland Academy as one of their assistants. Mm-hmm. So Marion County, who finished 5-6 last year, and we thought they were going in a good direction. But anytime you change coaches, there's going to be different verbiage, different nuances that you have to deal with. And here's game one of that. Hawkinsville is kind of in the same boat. They're a program that was really strong for a while, spent a few years down. Now they're kind of on that climb back up. But here early in the season, I'm going to go with Hawkinsville in this one. Scott, before we do our predictions of our three local area teams, one of our new things we're going to do this year, toward the end of every live episode, we're going to talk, call it a word of wisdom. And I thought today would be a good day to start that. I'll speak from the coach's standpoint, and I'm hoping that you'll speak from more of the parent standpoint. You've got a son that played high-level high school football and is now a Division I football player. I think you can speak to some of those parents. What I want our audience, especially those that have children that play high school football, to realize is these coaches put in a lot of time. And if you think about the amount of mistakes that every player on a roster will make throughout the year, give some grace to those coaches because they're going to make mistakes too, just like players. As long as they're being moral and ethical and really trying to put your son in a good position and teach him life lessons, give them some grace. I realize that wins and losses are important, and we certainly want all of our kids to win. But go into this season with a good attitude, giving that coach a little bit of grace. And Scott, from a parent standpoint, what about that?
I agree with you. I always would, after a game or something, go up to the parent, go up to the coaches and thank them for coaching your kid. Just thank them for. I mean, you may not have agreed with them or may not agree with the decision. A lot of times the parents in the stands and all that kind of stuff, you got the benefit of hindsight in a lot of situations, and realize these coaches are motivated by one thing: is make sure what's best for your kid, what's best for the team. And so, if you get a burr in your saddle after every Friday night and complain as a parent, you're complaining about the coach and you don't like what the coach is doing, one of two things: either the problem is not with the coach, one, or two, take your kid somewhere else. Take them somewhere else. If you don't agree with the direction or whatever, just do it. But don't just sit there and flap your gums about it. Just do it and go somewhere else. But I'll say this as a parent, when you're talking about your own kid, I never fussed at my kid for making an error or striking out or dropping a pass or a penalty or any of that kind of stuff, because that was the coach's responsibility. I let the coach coach. But now, if I ever saw my kid on the field with a bad attitude or not a poor work ethic or doing something, loafing, jaw jacking, and stuff like that, I handle that as a parent. That's my responsibility because that reflects upon me. Drop pass, mental errors, stuff like that. I didn't like it, but what could I add that the coach has not already added or already said to them or whatever, or going to say to them in the film room? Nothing. And you just sit there and let the coach on the fundamentals, and you develop your kid as a man or a woman that's going to have success later in life. And that's going to come through their attitude and work ethic. And that's what I think a parent, as a parent of a high school athlete or any athlete in general, needs to address. Not this the all little nuances of the game. Let the coaches coach, and you raise your kids.
That's Tim and Scott's word of wisdom, and we'll try to have just a small nugget of that each week. All right, it's prediction time for our three local area teams. Sly County, we'll start with them. Sly County hosting Seminole County tomorrow night, 7:30 at Wildcat Stadium in Ellaville. Scott, your thoughts?
I'm going to go with Sly County because we're here early in the season. They didn't show a whole lot against Lamar County, and Lamar County was a team from a much larger school system, much larger county, much larger classification. Seminole County, they probably going to come in with a lot of confidence from after last year and all, but I think Sly County is going to be ready for them for tomorrow night. I'm going to give the nod to Sly County in that game.
Seminole County, certainly a up-and-coming program. They got a big win over Sly County last year. Their biggest factor last year, Scott, was that big running back, and he was a load. He's no longer with them. Sly County played a scrimmage last week against a team much better than Seminole County is going to bring in. I, too, am going to go with Sly County. I think it's going to be a close one. I think Sly's got some things that they're going to have to work out that they saw last week. I think it's going to take more than 1 week to get those worked out, but they're going to have enough with leadership from people like their quarterback, Blake Weldon, some of those seniors, Amir Nelson, Jonathan Leggett. They've got some guys that when things start going wrong can kind of be the leaders and get them through. So Sly County, both Scott and I are predicting will win game one over Seminole. That takes us to Southland Academy. They will travel down to Deerfield Windsor in Albany. Rusty Tundy and Melvin Kinslow will have that on 98.7 WISK. If you can't make it to the game, make sure and listen to that on the radio with Rusty Tundy, and they'll bring you that action. But Scott, two rivals that don't like each other at all. one a former state champion from last year, Southland, that rising program. What do you think?
I'm gonna go with South. I mean, they're healthy. I'm sure they have that wing tee. They've got it ironed down to where they're doing it in their sleep at night. So I'm going with South on this game.
I wish I could. I really do, and I want to be able to do that this time next year. I think Southland's moving in the right direction, and I like Chance Jones and the job he's doing. Deerfield Windsor knows how to win. Southland's learning how to win. I hope next week I can eat my words and it's crow. But I think Deerfield right now has just too much of the winning background. And it's going to be a close one, a lot closer than folks think. But I think Deerfield's going to end up pulling it out. And let me say this. I'm going to go with the local team when I think the local team's going to
Don't be backpedaling now. You chose your dance partner. Go
but we're going to try to be real about this. And if we don't feel like the local team's going to be the winner, we're not going to pick them just because we're home guys. Okay. So Southland,
speak for yourself.
Yeah, Southland proved me wrong. That gets us.
Southland proved me right.
That gets us to Sumter County and Crisp County, the Battle of the Flint. That'll be at Finkley Robinson Stadium at 7:30 tomorrow night here in Americus. Scott, always a big one, and you can throw the records out the window.
I think Sumter County's too strong. I want Sumter County to not only beat Crisp County. I want to shut out. I want to shut out with that, and it's entirely possible with the defense that Sumter County's putting on the field tomorrow night.
I'm going to say Crisp County, a bad year last year. Got a new coach in Justin Newman, who we know is very smart offensively. I'm not sure Crisp County can move the football, not with any consistency on that defensive front and that linebacker core that Sumter County's got. I'm going to go with Sumter County. I think the Panthers will win it, and I think they'll win it big. So we look forward to a good first week of high school football. Make sure and get out and support your team. Scott, your final thoughts as we go into week one.
Well, I'm just glad we're here. I'm glad we're right here on the cusp of another high school football season. I know it's easy to sit home and listen to it on the radio sometimes, but nothing means more to those boys than to see a stand full of folks and the cheerleaders and the band and all that kind of stuff. Just the entire atmosphere. What a bargain for $10 a ticket or whatever it costs now to go to a game. That's just and not only that, just supporting those kids and supporting your local school system, regardless.
Scott,
Yes,
Scott. One of the new things we've got this year is we've got comments that we can show on our screen. So we get a comment in from Christian Harris. When are we going to get an old Coach Billy Nicholson on the channel? Haven't heard from Coach Nick in a while. I actually talked to Billy Nick about 3 weeks ago. He's doing well. Billy is still up at Johns Creek High School, and he's in his final year of teaching. He's no longer coaching baseball, so Billy just teaching, but he's doing well, and I'll make sure and tell him, Christian, that you ask about him, so thanks for that. And we want to thank all of you for being with us here on the Iintegrity Sports Podcast. Our program will be here each Thursday night at 7:15. We got plenty of room. Come in and eat with us. Have a good meal, and we'd love to have you. Thanks again to our sponsors, Harper's Tree and Stump Removal, Carter's Fried Chicken, and Marty McDonald State Farm Insurance Agency. Get out and support your local team tomorrow. For Scott Westbrook, I'm Tim Estes. Thanks for watching. So long, everybody.